Welcome to another video. In today's video, I'm going to show you my latest 3D printed wall art project named Eye of the Storm. This is my first multicolor wall art project and it's created on my round wall art base design. The round base design features interlocking parts and a built-in mounting structure to hang it with or without backplate. I recommend gluing it or mounting it to a backplate though. If you want to learn how to create these unique wall art pieces or bases for your projects, I have a dedicated YouTube series with these topics for you. You can find this series under the courses section on my channel. This series takes you through all the steps from idea and planning to printing and sharing your models, as well as some techniques for square and round wall art base designs. For the Eye of the Storm project, I had no real design ready. My main goal was a spiky design on the round base, as I haven't done something like that before. After playing around in Blender for a while, I had a design that I was happy with. I liked the visual impact and the feeling of energy and motion that it provided. To make this design work on the round base, I had to match up the grid on the bottom to the grid on top for the proper support structure internally. This also makes it possible to create parts that don't need support or infill. That's something that I like a lot, and also saves on filament as well. I have a new addition to my printing setup, and that's the BambuLab H2C, which is an absolute powerhouse compared to the P1S. I thought this wouldn't be that much of an upgrade, but I can tell you that there's been quite some development and improvements since the P1S that I bought a little over 2 years ago in 2023. Ease of use, cooling, noise, and many more things, but that's not what this video is about. The H2C will be a huge help though to get me through the wall art projects that are still on my to-do list. For this project I had 2 pieces with artifacts on the walls again, but only from my P1S this time. After the first time the first piece, I lowered the wall speed from the default to half of the original wall speed settings. As I explained in my video where I go into troubleshooting random print issues with geometric wall art pieces. Feel free to check that one out as well. Yet that didn't fix the issue completely. So on the next part, with the same mindset, I still opened the door to allow additional cooling of the print chamber for the P1S. I briefly blew into it to push some of the hot air out, and the issues were gone right away. And the next layer was perfect, which just confirms my cooling theory of the geometric parts even more. And after that, everything printed nicely. These parts don't require that much of filament, so with 2 spools for this project, I was easily able to reprint the 2 parts with some surface issues. I printed 1 part on the P1S, while the H2C printed 2 parts at once for this project. For the H2C, I have a different print bed that came with it. It's the textured backplate. And parts were sticking a little too well to it. So I lowered the bottom layers to 2 at first, which I normally do to save on some filament. But if I left the parts longer than 10 minutes after printing, they were solidly stuck to the print bed and would rip the bottom pieces off. So I increased it back to the default of 3 bottom layers again. They are still sticking a bit too well to the build plate for my preference, but the bottom pieces stay on now. I did place an order for the smooth pay plate, which I also have on my P1S. I love this thing and I never had issues with it. For me, the smooth pay plate is just the ideal plate for PLA prints. And those were the only real issues and challenges that I had for this print, which I definitely wouldn't mind for every project. In the background, I'm still working on the very first round base design that I ever created. As you know, this is the second round base design that I release now, so they overtook the initial round base project. The design looks cool, but I just can't get it to print properly yet. So make sure you're subscribed, there will be a video and design coming. I'm not giving up yet, I just don't know when it will be done. After everything was printed, I noticed something that I hadn't seen or experienced before while printing, and this was something that occurred because of the multicolor PLA that I'm using. Apparently, orientation matters for how the colors will be shifting on the pieces, and I didn't know that yet. It might be luck, but for the H2C I flipped the second piece 180 of the other piece, so they are almost exact opposites. The P1S had a different orientation, but this one also uses a different spool, so the orientation on how it is printed might be different again. The color I use for this project is the BambuLab PLA Silk Multicolor Blue Hawaii. It's a combination of blue and green, which would suit the topic of the Eye of the Storm project very well, I thought. From the side and image, I got the idea that the viewing angle would change the color, like the color shift on a car, for example. But this was not the case. I have a sample print here. I was eager to start with the wall art backlog, so I did this sample piece after the wall art. You can clearly see on this piece that one side being more blue and one side being more green. So this project is a little all over the place color shifting wise, and I do wonder how it would look like if I did every piece in the same orientation. Maybe we'll find that out next time. But for this, the Eye of the Storm design, it probably won't matter that much and only add more chaos and energy to the storm side of the project. But that's another new thing that I learned with this being my first multicolor print. And now it's time for the last step, and that's putting everything together. From now on, I also decided that I'm going less experimental and to really add backplates to all my works. Before the glue up, I'm first going to drill a hole in the backplate. I measure the length from the edge to the center of the recess that I created for hanging the piece in the 3D printed part. It doesn't really matter where on the edge you drill the hole, as we only need one and the distance from the border will always be the same. So no need to make sure you're in center or some complex calculations. Just a proper distance from the edge is fine. For this I used a 8mm universal or metal drill bit. I really have to upgrade to a 10mm one to make my life a little easier for future projects as well. And I used a countersink drill bit to smooth out the sharp aluminum edges on both sides of the plate. And for this project I used a aluminium bed plate. It might be the one that I ordered for the Massive Impact piece and that has been standing under this desk for all that time. Who knows? In the future I want to experiment with a few different materials as well, as I don't really like the shiny edges from the aluminium where it's cut on the outside. I know that I can paint or color these edges, but less work and more fitting solutions might be out there. I was looking for hard PVC as a next possibility to try. If you have any ideas or suggestions, let me know in the comments below. There might be things that I haven't seen or know about yet. And before gluing everything, I want to do a test fit so I can determine where I want which piece, especially now that we know that the color tone or color shift changes per part. And I feel like I got very lucky with it because we have an equal number of green-sided parts and blue-sided parts, so it's 5 and 5. so I can switch them over to a checkered kind of look. So this really saves it as well. It's not just some random or double pieces next together. I do think that would have ruined the final look otherwise, and it almost feels like intentionally, because it really looks great now. For the spikes, I cut off the tips in the 3D model. This way they don't try to print like 10 small layers of single dots. That will only cause stringing or worse, even fail. And this makes cleanup a lot less work as well. Just removing the small imperfections and basically then we're ready to go. I start by cleaning each piece with my hands and some pliers, and for the tougher to reach places I'll use a lighter to just sort of burn down or melt the stringing that's happening in between the spikes. Now that we know the order of the pieces and we have them all cleaned up, we can start gluing them to the backplate. I'll wipe down the backplate with some isopropyl alcohol first to remove my greasy fingerprints that always get all over these nice and shiny surfaces. I'll use the Uhu Alleskleber again. I haven't used it on the aluminium backplate yet, but I don't expect any issues. If it wills, we know from the Copper Vortex project that high-tech caulking will always be there and be a fitting solution. And as mentioned, I don't expect any issues. Alleskleber is German for all-purpose glue, and I've glued rubber to metal with this stuff as well. So I will start with the first piece, the only one where the position really matters. The one that has to line up with the hole in the backplate. I add some glue to the flat surface on the bottom of the printed part. And I check underneath the plate to see if the recess aligns with the hole. I had to be fairly quick as the glue hasn't set yet and it was already sliding. But everything was looking good and it lined up nicely. I'll also put some glue in between the pieces where they connect, which is probably overkill with the backplate. It's just to make sure that the pieces stick together as well and not only to the backplate, or to keep them in place if something moves when moving other parts around. So let's do this for all the parts now, slowly working the way all around the piece. And because we have a nice backplate now, I don't have to worry about the table either. So how easy is that? All the glue rests that might seep through will be on the backplate. Even though this backplate was cut in a professional shop, I do a quick check, placing the centerpiece and moving an outside piece against it on the opposite side of the glued pieces. And fortunately there are no real adjustments to be made and the back piece edge aligns nicely with the printed pieces. And I always love seeing the final project come together piece by piece in this step. Everything was going well, probably too well. So when I started using the new glue, it had a lower viscosity than the old tube, so I spilled some without knowing at that moment in between some spikes. And when I found out, I had to rush to my cabinet to find some cotton swabs to remove the glue with some isopropyl alcohol, as just a clot with some isopropyl alcohol didn't do the job. And finally, after cleaning that piece up and giving every row one last push into the backplate, we can finally admire the Eye of the Storm in its final form. And here are the numbers for this project, including 2 fully reprinted parts. Final weight 1.73 kilograms, filament used 1.29 kilograms, print time 40.8 hours. And then it's time to let the glue cure for a couple of hours. This is something that I won't bore you with, so let's check out the results. That's the Eye of the Storm project completed. I'm really happy with how it looks, especially for my first multicolor project. Colors perfectly match the storm vibe and it gives that extra dimension, with an even stronger feeling of movement and energy. Especially when the light moves through the piece and you can see the color shifts on each individual surface. It looks even better in real life and I find it a bit hard to capture in camera, but I hope it conveys well. Print files will be available on my Makerworld profile, link in the description below. Let me know what you think of this project in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts and perspective on this project and how it came out. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more of my future projects. That will be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching and I hope to see you in the next one.